everyone. I know you're busy with tracking things, but I just wanted to do a little small session on local installation of DHIS2. Because you know you've all been working on the servers here, and I think that's a very good idea. But I know that also a lot of you would like to have something personal on your laptop that you can play with when you go home. There is the online demo, which you can always use, but if you make any changes there, they are erased every night, because we refresh the database every night on the online demo. So it's no fun if you create a lot of things and you want to come back next day and it's all deleted. So, first of all, how many people here have a Windows laptop in front of them? That's almost everyone, right? How many people do not have Windows, but something else, like Mac or something? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, 5. So I'm sorry, but this section might not be as interesting for you, for the Mac people. I think we need to do maybe a separate little group, or you're so smart you can just figure it out yourself. Anyway, as it says here, this is not for the server. This is not server installation. It's not the national server with thousands of users and you know, all your national data. But it's for it's your personal database on your machine that works offline because it's on the machine. Okay, so-called localhost. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to do it. You need, so this, of course, these slides that I'm showing you right now are available on Moodle. This is under Tools on Moodle. There's a new folder called DHIS2 Local Installation. You may not be able to see it, but it's called DHIS2 Local Installation. There's a folder with Mac, but it's empty because I didn't have time to do it yet. There are also 2 other folders, and this is one of the most pressing questions. Do you have 32-bit Linux, Windows, or 32-bit, 64-bit Windows? And how many here have 32-bit Windows? And how many have 64-bit Windows? And how many don't know if they have 32-bit or 64-bit? Right. So, my second slide says, please check if you have 32-bit or 64-bit. Click on the Start button, right-click on Computer, see the properties. Again, there's many ways to do this, but you get a screen that tells you that it's 64-bit or 32-bit. If you don't know how to do it, ask someone at your table. I'm sure someone can help you. So you have to know if you have 32-bit or 64-bit. Depending on your bitness, you will select either 32-bit Java. Who has Java already on their computer? Who has Java but don't know it? No, let's see. I mean, you have to check if you have Java. Maybe, very likely you have Java, but it's also possible that you don't have Java. In that case, you need to install it. Again, you choose the version that fit your computer. In fact, 32-bit will also run on 64-bit, but not the other way around. Okay? Postgres SQL is the database engine that we recommend. It's also the one that we use for the national server. So that's why it's good for you to use that also on your laptop. Otherwise, you could use something like MySQL or even the built-in database, which is called H2. But the only problem, and that's fine. The only problem is that if you're going to interchange any files between any database dumps between your installation and another installation, it's always nice if it's the same database engine. But it is possible to run DHIS without Postgres. But I'm still going to go through the trouble of installing it. And then finally, the most important piece of the puzzle is the DHIS2.war. So it's not Nothing to do with war, peace and war, but it's a web archive, okay? That's the Java, that's everything, basically. That's the 2.14 version. And when you want to upgrade in April, maybe you want to upgrade to the 2.15 version, then you basically just switch to the new WAR file, okay? So as I said, you install Java, very easy, click, click, click. Postgres is also very easy, click, click, but you have to choose a super user password. I have a suggestion here. You can take anything else, but you have to remember it. That's why I'm giving you a suggestion, so that at least then you remember it. You can go back to the slide, and when you forget it, you can go back to the slide. Okay, and it's case sensitive. Even on Windows, it's case sensitive. Also, when you get to the last window in the installer, it says Stack Builder. Just uncheck it because you don't need it. There are many additional programs that you can build. What I also recommend, this is not absolutely required, but it's quite nice, is to put Postgres in your path in your Windows. How many knows how to add? How many people know how to add something to your path? Oh, that's a very few actually. So this describes how to do it. It's not, as I said, absolutely necessary, but it's a nice thing because it then becomes available everywhere in your system. Then there is another tool that comes with Postgres, which is called PGAdmin. Again, it's not something you need. If you're happy to use the command line, the DOS command line in Windows, then that's fine. This is like a nice graphical user interface. But the important thing is, the main thing we do with it is it's a tool that allows us to easily create a new database and easily have a look at what's inside the database and also submit SQL queries. As I said, all of this you can also do on the command line, but many people are more comfortable with the graphical user interface. So we recommend you create a new database user. So you already had a database user, which is a super user. I recommend you create another one just for DHIS. Just call it DHIS, password DHIS. It doesn't have to be very fancy because it's just on your local computer. So even if it's not secure, it doesn't really matter. If someone is at your computer, they already have access to most of your things. So, of course, if you're going to use this database, to actually track some people and put real data, then you have to be much more careful with security. Then you should probably secure your laptop completely. So this is, what I'm saying is, normally when you're just training, you're just learning, it doesn't really matter if you have a fancy password. Again, on the server, it's completely different. And then there's a cryptic, this part is maybe the most cryptic. What I'm saying here is create a folder on the C drive called DHIS2. Inside there, create another folder called OPT. And in there, create a file called hibernate properties. Inside the hibernate properties, take all of that except the bullet points and paste it in. Just paste all the content that you see there, not the bullet points. I shouldn't have the bullets, actually. It's my mistake. And just paste it in exactly as it is. What does this do? Well, you will see a couple of things. First of all, you see, now we're going to use the Postgres. It's going to be a Postgres setup. There could be a MySQL setup, but it's not. We're going to use Postgres. So we need this one for the dialect and this one for the driver. This is, I mean, you don't have to worry about it, just copy it in. This is very important. This last part after the colon, this is the name of my database. DHIS2. I could have called it Nepal test database or malaria training database or something. Call it whatever you want, but this, the name, so first you create it. using that other tool that I mentioned called PGAdmin. Maybe I should show that. Anyway, but this is the name of the database. That's very important. Then if you're going to be able to connect to the database, you have to make sure that you have the right username and the right password. As I said before, we just choose something easy because it's just on your laptop. So we call DHIS and DHIS. Just very simple. And then this last line is a bit mysterious. You don't have to worry about it, but it means that this last line will make sure that DHIS creates the whole database automatically. So you start with an empty database, you connect to DHIS, and then it creates 250 tables. So you don't have to do that manually. Okay? So this file is incredibly important. This is where you define which database you want to connect to. If after some time you want to start again from a fresh database, or someone gives you another database dump, then you can just create another database with a different name, and you just change the name. And that's it. Basically, you just restart DHIS, and it'll go to a different database, as long as you just specify the name here. I know all of this is a bit abstract because we're not really doing it, we're just talking about it, but I just want to walk you through very quickly. Then there's one more piece, and that's the Tomcat. And there are many ways to install Tomcat, and in some ways the easiest is to just Google Tomcat and download Tomcat and install it. I've chosen to provide you with a different tool, which gives you a little bit more. It's like it gives you a control panel with start and stop. The disadvantage is it's much bigger than just Tomcat, so it takes longer to download. But I put all these files in Moodle. So you can actually download. You don't have to go to the internet, because if everyone here goes to the internet and downloads hundreds of megabytes, that will take forever. We will not be finished by Thursday. But on the local network, it should work. If not, I don't know how we can ensure that, but I mean, not everyone should do it at the same time. But maybe you could do it a little bit time, you know. You can get all these files, the Postgres, the Java, the Tomcat, which is inside this thing called XAMPP. Okay, I recommend that you just install it in C:/XAMPP, not in program files. You can also put it somewhere else, but it needs to have write access. So you should be. This is an easy place to put it. If you put it there, it'll work. If you want to put it on D, that's fine. No problem. You put it E, but it's easy if you just put it directly on something that you control, like C:/. When you install, the XAMPP installer is more complex. You'll have many options. Most of them will be checked already. There will be things like PHP, MySQL, Perl, Python. Lots of tools will be there. If you want them, you can take them. The installation will take longer, but it's fine. Then you'll have all those tools available as well. The only one that you really need is Tomcat. So you can actually uncheck everything else and just take Tomcat. That's what I'm saying. You don't need the others. But of course, some people say, hey, yes, I just want everything. Just give me everything. But it'll take some time, and it'll fill up your hard drive. That's if you're happy with that, you can do that. So inside XAMPP, there is a folder called Tomcat, and inside Tomcat, there's a folder called Web Apps. Inside Web Apps, that's where we put DHIS. And what we do is we create a new folder called DHIS inside. Inside Web Apps, there's DHIS. Inside that folder, you put the DHIS2 war file. Then you just rename it to DHIS.zip instead, because it is actually a zip file. And you just unzip. then you can open the control panel and start Tomcat. The control panel will then you'll get a new command window, DOS window, black window, with lots of commands. And it may look like gobbledygook, but it's actually not. It's actually the log. It's actually mostly the log from starting DHIS. And that's useful to know, because if you have any problems, you need to look at the log and send us the error message and try to find out what's wrong. But that'll open in a little window, and that window needs to stay open as long as you run the Tomcat in this way. There are other ways to run Tomcat. You can also install as a service, or you can run it in the background. I mean, there are many ways to do this, but this one, so I'm just giving you one way that'll work, and that's fairly simple. Even though there's still quite a few steps, as you see. It's not so easy, unfortunately. I also have a couple of slides on how to upgrade. And I mentioned this already. The only thing you need to do is you stop Tomcat, you go into that same folder, you just delete everything, and you take the new one, put it there, unzip, and you start. So that's how easy it is to upgrade from 2.14 to 2.15. It's really straightforward. And maybe I have a few more slides. Okay. A little bit about how to back up your database and restore the database. Of course, if you do anything that's valuable, you should definitely back up, preferably every day, do a backup. You can also install automated backup, but that's maybe more for the server. Yes. Okay, and finally, there's a slide on how to link Postgres into Access. If you like me, you like Access as a tool, you can look at, instead of using the user interface that you get from Postgres, you can use this. Look at all the tables in there. So all of this is available as. So please, I think the first file that all of you could just maybe it's too small, download is. I think the first file that all of you could download is this one, which is just the file, the slides that I just showed you, right? So this is under DHIS2 local installation, which is under tools in Moodle. Some of the other files are very big. So that's why I'm saying if everyone downloads at the same time, it'll be very slow. DHIS2 WAR is about 80 megabyte. This is just for people who don't have Chrome already. I think you should have Chrome. You see, these two are just for the people with 64-bit Windows, Java and Postgres. These two are for 32-bit. And then at the bottom, there is the XAMPP file. And XAMPP is also big. It's 100 megabyte. Because it has all those tools that you actually don't need. So in some ways it's a bit stupid, but it's also very easy to work with. So it'll be about, I think, roughly 250 megabyte for each of you. Some of you already have DHIS installed, right? There's also something, I should mention this, there's an alternative to this, which is called DHIS2 Live. Does anyone have DHIS2 Live running already on their computers? Yeah. And that's fine. If you're happy with DHIS2 Live, you don't have to do any of this. I've just switched to XAMPP because I think it's a little bit easier for some people to do a few other things. But DHIS2 Live is pretty much the same, except that it doesn't use Tomcat, it uses something called Jetty instead of Tomcat. But either is fine. You'll see a link to DHIS Live on the website, dhis2.org. But for here, I've just given you the XAMPP instead. It's just because it's very nice to have the control panel. That's a lot of information. Some questions? Question?
Can we add maps for the on our personal DHIS2?
Okay. So the question is, can we have maps? Okay, I'm thinking now that perhaps there's one more thing I should have given you. So the thing is, now you do all the things that I told you, and you start DHIS, and it looks very boring because there's nothing inside. The database is created. It has more than 200 tables, but they're all empty. This is nice if you're going to start from scratch and create your country, etc. But then comes the question, how do you actually put things into the database quickly? This is not easy. I can tell you, it's not. I mean, you can of course do everything manually. That's in a way easy, but takes a lot of time. If you need to import things in other ways, if you already have something on your national server, you can just do an export. The best thing is, I mean, for those people who are lucky enough that already have a national server that has been set up, and you just want a copy of that on your local machine, there's two things you can do. Either you can ask or get a database dump. It's probably the best. Or you can do an export, a metadata export or even a data export. And then you import to your own instance. Okay? But this, of course, presupposes that you have something. If you're actually starting from scratch and you don't have the maps, etc., then there's a bit of work. And I'm not going to go through that now. I can talk to those of you who need to do that. I've already been working with one country. I think there are a couple more that need this exercise. But the maps take time. It takes, a day or two at least to work on it, depending. I think there was one more question.
What should we do if we want to install Tomcat in a pre-existing Tomcat 6 directory? Because I was trying to install the Tomcat DHIS4 in Ubuntu and on live server. That was basically a virtual machine on one of our servers. So that didn't work, and I had to follow the documentation of Tomcat that creates stevnds.bat file, and then that's a different process. But now, what's the problem? Because there are two Tomcats running. One is for DHIS, and the other is the default Tomcat 6. So how should I install DHIS in our own Tomcat? So that's the question.
Thank you. So the question about if you already have a Tomcat running. First of all, DHIS2 runs best or most easily on Tomcat 7, I think. There has recently, and we also require Java 7, I think, not or Java 1.7. So I think that question is a bit specific. Maybe I'll just sit with you because it's very different from installing on people's laptops. So I think I'm not going to spend time on that for everyone because you can. So I mean, if you have very specific questions with your setup and the server setup, that's a little bit different. So let's discuss that with one-on-one rather than have everyone look at it. Has some people, maybe I should even divide you into, I mean, you are groups. Maybe we should have some people started downloading things from that site now? And how is it going? Is it slow or? Yeah, so it's just going to be too complicated for me to sort of say this table download and this table download or so. So just don't panic. What I'm planning to do is actually focus a bit more on this tomorrow, but because it takes so much time for everyone to download, I just wanted to get started. So don't panic if you don't manage to do this right now, because you actually have a different assignment. We'll go back to Tracker now. Also, don't panic if you don't get it done today. We can all sit and look at it today, tomorrow, and even Thursday. So it's not urgent. I just wanted to get this process started because a lot of people have asked me about it. So the resources are there. You don't need to do it now. In fact, you shouldn't get too distracted by this process.
Is it possible so we could get some dummy data from Sierra Leone, like on this?
Very good question, and in fact, it's what I should have replied to earlier when the gentleman from Malaysia was asking me. So, if you want your own data, obviously you have to have your own data or create them. If you want to just play with the Sierra Leone database that we've been working with here, then that's actually completely available on DHIS2.org. But again, since that'll take a lot of pressure on put a lot of pressure on the internet, maybe I will just download it and upload it to the same folder. It's already there? Oh, you have it. You have it. So we'll just upload it. We already downloaded it. We'll just put it on the same folder. Then you will need to use that one of the last slides where I talked about restoring a database. Okay? So we'll put that there so you can play around with Sierra Leone. And then if you want to switch to your own country, then basically you just have to go into that file called hibernate properties, and you change the database name from Sierra Leone to Philippines, for example.